Okay. Today we are starting on the bottom of 60b. Yeah, come sit. Where should he sit?
Either over there. I mean, today you can hear us.
But there's water here.
No, it's not.
It's yours?
Oh, no. Maybe it's
yesterday's party. Your party?
I don't know.
Yeah, yesterday's party.
Oh, so it's still remains. Then you should throw it out.
Yeah.
You got plenty too much.
Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day.
You're
We're
welcome.
learning. We should have
I hope so.
Beis Hamikdash
Especially
immediately.
I
We should
know.
have. Everyone should be safe. Okay.
Tomorrow.
Mishnah.
It's easy. It's easy.
Mishnah says, "Almanash yeshli beis karafer." You see that in the Mishnah? Make sure the Gemara says Kiddushin. Make sure on the binding of the Gemara it has to say Kiddushin. It says Kiddushin. Okay, got this over there. There's other Gemaras also. So Samach Hamad Beis 60. Almanash yeshli beis karafer. We're talking about a man tells a woman, "I'm betrothed to you on condition that you should be betrothed to me, on condition that I have a base core. Base core is a 60. No, it's not 60. It's 30 sa. Core is 30 sa. So the way they would measure land was how much seed you could put into it. So at each sa could sow a sa is a 144 egg size. So if you had a bowl that could contain 144 eggs, right? So that size you would then fill with seed, with grains, and then that would be able to sow a field by at the size of 50 amas by 50 amas. So a base sasayim,
They know that.
they planted.
So
How much seed you need per. So the way they measured the land was by the seed. So I'll give you a bushel of seed for of land.
right. So they have to know how much the general piece of land. Each piece of land is different, no, or different qualities. Of
I
land.
guess it was an average
average.
land. We'll talk about the complications in a minute. But so what this would be is a base core would be 50 amas. A core is 30 sa. So it'd be 50 amas by 1,500 amas. 50 amas by 1,500. That would be a base core, right? Because it's 30 times 50. 30 times 50, right? Am I correct? 1,500? 30 times 50. Okay. So that's how big he says, on condition that I have this piece of land that's 50 by 1,500. How do you square that? Rashi says how to make it into a square or whatever. Whatever the case is, that's the size that Harizim Mekadeshus V'Yeshlei. So he's married to her if he has that. That was his condition, and if he has it, then good.
It's a lot.
Depends. In Manhattan, yes. Almanashi Yeshli B'Makam Pliny. He says, on condition that I have it in a certain place, it has to be specifically in that place. On condition that I show you. Well, so he's married to her, but he has to show it to her. If he shows her in the valley a piece of land, but it's not really his, so that's not what he meant.
And if you showed her in the mountain that wasn't his,
It's a fraud.
I don't know. Bika just means a valley, but Bika is used for where the fields were. Yeah, someone told me he got pulled over by the police. They said, "When's the last time you had a drink?" He said, well, I had a cup of coffee before I left the house. And the police said, that's not what I meant. Yeah. Okay.
Do you really think he was drunk, or is it just?
I don't know. I'm just like saying over here with this Mishnah. He shows her a piece of land. No, that's not what I meant. Okay. So V'necha Shemi Yeshlai. Yeah. He gave her a coin. He gave her a coin or a ring, and these are just conditions. No, the conditions are if he meets the conditions, then the marriage takes place. Give her a coin and said, "I'm married. This should be a betrothal, on condition that I have."
He's trying to impress her. I mean, just the ring. I'm not interested.
No, the
No.
condition, if the stipulation, the condition isn't met, then the marriage is off.
Ring or no ring? I mean, he's got the ring.
You don't need the condition, but because he is adding that condition, then the marriage will be invalid if he doesn't meet the condition that he added.
But in all these cases, he gives her a coin. And then he says, I'm giving you a ring.
But if he says, I'm giving you a coin on
Yeah.
condition that,
So she's like, the ring is nice, but I also want to make sure you have a whole piece of land.
no, she doesn't say that. He said it.
She's a gold digger.
Yeah.
He said it.
Well, he didn't say it for
Yeah, he
no
doesn't have
reason.
to. He doesn't have to. She doesn't have to say anything. She just accepts it,
Right.
and he has to meet those conditions in order for the marriage to be good. The question would be like, let's say she then goes and accepts a ring from someone else. Now the first guy says, "Once someone had, could you do that? I'm married to you." So, well, you don't have the land that you said you had, so the marriage is off, and I'm now married to the second guy. Right? It can make a big difference. The Gemara asks. It sounds like from this that if he doesn't have the land, so then they're not married. How do you know? Maybe he has a piece of land and it's and we don't know about it. We have another brisa that says that we should have to suspect that maybe that land exists. Umar says like kasha where we didn't mean that she's not married at all. We just meant that she's not definitely married, but there still is a doubt if she's married, because could be this exists. What's it called in the bank when your money is goes to the
A pending transaction.
no, when you don't use an account for a long time, it ends up
Freezes.
in some goes to the state. What's that called? What is it called?
Probate?
Dormant.
What is it called?
Dormant.
Dormant. When it's dormant, it's dormant. Maybe it's in one of those like dormant accounts, and
Who's that, ET?
no, this is Daniela's on. Okay. Careful. I one time said that, and then the thing started talking to me.
not feeling good. Not feeling good.
So okay, now the Gemara says, we actually had exactly this Mishnah right before. Where was it? We had it about the money. One page back. But I'll marry you, or you're betrothed to me on condition that I'm going to give you 200 coins, something. At least, and now we're saying on condition that I'm going to give you this whatever, that I have this. It's exactly the same story. So tzricha, we say it's necessary. Diashmin gabizuzif would only said by the coins shem davidi inish demitzni aval ara ema I de islay ara kol islay kamash malan, that it doesn't matter. I could have thought like this, that what we're saying now is that even if he doesn't have the money, if he doesn't have the land, we still suspect that maybe there is a marriage there and she would need a divorce. She's not fully married because we don't know that the land exists, but she would still need a divorce because of the doubt. Now, we would say maybe that's only by the coins, because maybe he has money in one of those dormant accounts. He forgot about it. And but when you do a search, it's going to show up that he really had that money, right? However, by land, I don't have to suspect that there's a dormant account somewhere. By the land, I would, if he has the land, then everyone would know he has the land. They used to have, in England, the houses have like names on them, like manor or something, like regular houses.
Numbers. Look.
They have numbers also, but they have like titles. Anyway, if there's a land, then they would have a name attached to it.
Smith.
Right.
So with this condition, is she already given a ring
That
of money
exists.
or
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah.
I feel like that should be after the conditions met. Then
No, she's given the money or the ring, and she's given with the condition. So Kamash Malon, that it doesn't matter, even by the land, we suspect that maybe it exists somewhere and we don't have it. We don't know about it. Okay, Almanash Yeshli B'ma complaining Yeshli. The Gemara says that if he's quoting the Mishnah, that if he says that I have land in such and such a place, so if it's in such a place, yes, and if not, not. The Gemara says Pshita, that's obvious. I could have said, he tells her, what's the difference where it is? What's the difference where the property is? I'm the one that has to bring in the food. So if the property is not so local, so I'll have to drive to get the grain and I'll bring it back. But what do you care where the property is? Right. So Kamash Malan, that no, she's not married. She wants him maybe to be a word close by.
That's the same thing. The acres in Manhattan.
That's another teretz. That's another teretz. Could be the value of the location. That's another. Gemara didn't say that. Amanash erech beis karafar. Oh, you know why? Because the way he measured it was by the amount of grain. So it would produce the same amount. It's not talking about the convenience. Okay, and on condition that I show you a base curve for the Brisa says that he was only talking about that he would show her from his own property, not from not someone else's property. If he shows just a random field, so not married. The Gemara says Pshita. Isn't that obvious? The Gemara says like talking about where he didn't show just a random field. He actually showed the field that he's working on. It wasn't his. He's just the sharecropper. It means he works on the field and he ends up taking produce. So he showed her a field that he gets produce from, but it's not really his.
Right.
So that's not. She was thinking that it was his field, and so the marriage doesn't work. Okay, now the Gemara is going to get into an interesting discussion of if the field has spots in the field that are not, you can't plant there, or if there's ditches or rocks or other things. What do we consider that? How does that affect the area that he told her about? So Gabi Hektish Tanan was taught regarding Hektish.
They mentioned that the amount that it produces, is it factor in if it's near the water or it's not near the water?
No, it's not about that. It's just about the amount.
There are other Gemaras that discuss that.
If it's near the water, it
Right,
should be more.
it's easier. Right. This is really not. It's really not about the amount it produces, how much seed it takes, which I guess means also how much it produces. But
So a condition of the guy, is there ever a case where it's
yeah,
saying it's
yeah,
similar-
she could also make conditions. So it's like this: Hamak Tishadeo B'Shas HaYovel. The rule is by Yovel, the field could be redeemed when the Jubilee is in effect, which means during the time of the Beis Hamikdash, if someone consecrates a field. So the rule is that he can redeem each amount of field for a certain price. So, Leisin Bezerah Chaymer Sayrim Chamishim Shekel Kesef. Is a Chaymer, does it say over there how much a Chaymer is? That's 15 something. But I don't remember
It's
exactly.
a core of barley seed.
What is it?
It says here a core of barley
A
seed.
Chaymer is a core.
Yeah.
Oh, a core, because it's 30, so it's not 15.
the Yovel here would be like in 5800, like practically speaking.
No, because it didn't start from zero. It started when they came into Eretz Yisrael, when they divided the land. I think that's when it started.
14 years after Yoshua.
After they came in, which was, that would be 2488 they came in. They add to
So,
that
14
14,
years.
so it would be what was that? 2502. Yeah, so 2502, then you would do 50.
52.
Yeah.
102.
Yeah. Now there's just one wild card there, is that there's machlekes. If it's if the 50 is if the first year starts on year 50, or if there's a year 50 and then there's a first year.
Well, Hakel is always the year after.
Well, Hakel is always the year after, right? But in other words, there's 7 shmitas, right? And then you have the yovel, and then there's a discussion if when you start counting the next shmita, do you start after the yovel or the yovel is year 1? Again, it's machlekes Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda, and I forget how we rule. You remember where that Gemara was? We learned it together, but I don't remember when.
Guess.
Okay, maybe right. So what happens now is Naisin Bezerachem Yisrael Chamishim Shekel Kesef. Every 50 by 1500, every 50 by 50 by 1500 amos of property is redeemed with 50 silver coins. Hayu Nekayim Amukim. Probably means like ditches or something. How does it translate, Nekayim? Ditches. What does it say? Crevices. Okay. If there's these crevices that are 10 tvachim deep, by Slaim Gavayim Masar Tvachim, or if there's rocks in the field that are 10 tvachim high, that's not counted together with this area. But if those crevices are less than 10 tvachim, if those rocks are less than 10 tvachim high, then nimdadamim, it's counted together with it. We deliberate on this. He says, Nihida Mahadiyara like Kachu, but Nikdishu Bapi Nafshayu. Why don't they, could be, why do they, we're asking that they should be consecrated and they should be redeemed separately. What are we thinking over here? I guess we're thinking that you don't have to redeem it at all. Oh, yeah. So Rashi says that that there's the rule, the rule of every chomer sa'irim is 50 shekel kesef. That's only a rule for a base court, but for these little pieces of land, those have to be redeemed. Those have to be redeemed by their actual value. This is consecrated, and then it needs to be redeemed. So it doesn't go under that just flat rate. So the Gemara says, it says maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe we would say that it needs to be a full base core in order to get that rate. So Baraminu, we have a contradiction to that. It says Sada. It says in the Pasuk of field, what is it teaching me? How do you know that if there's other measurements of property, you get the same rate, as it's the same ratio of 50 coins per 50 by 50, 50 by 100 by 1500. So the Gemara says we learn this from the pasuk. So the question is that he should have to redeem that area exactly the same with the same rate. Maruk Barchama says we're dealing with crevices, cracks in the land that are filled with water. And you can't plant in there. You can plant rice, right? But depends how deep it is. Was that for me? I should stop. So we're talking. That's the answer. I'll prove it to you. Because it says the other example was rocks that are high 10 tefachim. We see that those are places where it can't be sown. So then even if it's less, then 10 tfachim, the same thing should apply. Gemara says no, ahani nagi da'ara mikri, shidra da'ara mikru. Do you have it translated over there? Basins, that's what it says. And what do you have over there in the Quran? Yeah. Basin, okay.
The small clefts of the
And
field are
the
called
Yukayim are
basins,
little
or
nooks,
seats and
basically.
Basins. And shidra da'ara, it sounds like a spine.
It's a wet sinkhole.
How do you translate shidra
spines of
da'ara?
land.
Spine, it says? Spines of land. So in other words, it's if it's less than 10 tefachim, it's considered part of the land. And no land is perfect. You know, there's always going to be something there. So, but it's still considered. It's measured together with land. It just gets like swallowed up. Spines.
Boulders.
But if it's a big boulder over 10 tefachim, then that's separated, and then it can't be sown, so that's not counted.
It's outcropping.
Well,
The bedrock comes up. You can't.
what is that called? Outcropping.
Outcropping. But in other words, outcropping of the bedrock.
Interesting. Okay, so what we learned was that by hektish, if you can actually sow seeds and plant in that area, then it would be counted with the field. The whole reason why it's not counted with the field is because you can't sow there. Gabi mecher tanan, what about by a sale? Someone sells a property. It says, if someone tells his friend, he has the same problem, selling him a field, and he's telling him it's a base court. That means it's 30 so, which means it's 50 amas by 1500 amas. And turns out that in there is these cracks in the land, and there's also these rocks, these boulders that are 10 tefachim high, or the cracks 10 tefachim deep. Ein nimdadamim is not counted. Pachas mikan, but if it's less than that, then nimdadamim it is counted. But Mark Barcham explains that even if it's not filled with water, even if you can plant in there. Well, my time. So what's the reason for that? Amarav Papa, if you should them right, so sheet in a smice of besada achas, the year like Yishnaimer Shleshim Mekaimas. He doesn't want to put his money into a field that he wanted one field, and it turns out that you can't plow it straight. You have to schlep the plow over the rock, or over the ditch, and thinks it's not convenient for him. So therefore, the whole sale is up. The Gemara asks now, Hachamai. This was a long question. That if a person tells a woman that I'm marrying you, on condition that I have a base korafa, but in there you have those rocks or obstacles. So then, is those obstacles counted together with? You see, by a sale, even if you can plant there, it's not valid. By hektish, we said that if you can plant there, it is valid. So what is it when he marries the woman? Is it considered like hektish, or is it considered like the sale? Is it considered part of the field or not part of the field? So, do we compare it to the sale, or do we compare it to hektish? The Gemara says it's probable to compare it to hektish. You're worried about how the plow is going to go over. He says, no, I'm bringing it anyway. I'm doing the work. So it shouldn't bother you how difficult the field is or anything like that.
A lot of land in Israel that they grow on now qualifies.
Yeah. Blessing of Israel that it grows even though the land is all rocky.
Boulders, so
It's amazing.
they're not there anymore.
Ruins were very, very much part of it.
An arable. Desert.
Would be another by the sale. It doesn't happen. It was just considered one property.
It's one property, and the problem is that because it has these holes in it, the whole thing is not counted. The whole sale is up. Yeah, that's what it seems. Okay. The mayor, we have this is a big topic that's always quoted in Shas, and this seems to be the source of it. And I actually haven't come across the Gemara this hard since Yivamis.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
But it's
Awareness of
I
fire.
just don't understand.
but I have questions
Yeah,
on
wake
it
you up a
and
little
whatever. I wasn't able to look up any commentary. So if you have any notes, then
We'll get through it together.
okay. Rameir says, "Kol tanai shenika tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain in a tanai." You see, when there was some of the tribes had a lot of flock. They wanted to stay on the eastern side of the Jordan because over there was a lot of pasture. And they said that we'll just stay here while the rest of Israel goes to the western side of the Jordan. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, "What? You're going to stay over here when your brothers are going to fight? If you're going to stay over here, first you have to go and fight first. You have to go and fight, and then you'll come back and stay here." So he tells them like this. He says, "If you go and fight, then you'll be able to take it. If you don't go and fight, then you won't get the land. This land, you'll just get a regular portion in the land of Canaan." Well, what he did was he told them that if you go in, yes, and if you don't go in, no. He doubled the stipulation. In other words, when he made a tanai, the tanai means the stipulation. He made a tanai, the stipulation. If yes, he didn't just do it one way. He said, and if not, then you won't. Right?
Because usually this is how you acquire countries, They fight into war. Whoever wins, it gets it.
Right. Here, what they were
about the
saying was all of the Jewish people fought together to conquer the land on the eastern side of the Jordan. And now they conquered it. And these 2.5 tribes said, "We want to stay here." Then they let the other tribes go and conquer the others. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, "No, if you're going to go and conquer, then we'll let you stay here. You have to go and help your brothers." Okay, this is called a Tanai Kafel. You have to double it. When the mother says, "If you eat your this, then you'll get dessert." She doesn't repeat it afterwards. And if you don't, then you won't get dessert.
That means he gets two.
Because they know that they're going to get the dessert anyway.
That first statement implies the second part. So
It does imply it.
yeah.
It does imply. So really, you shouldn't have to say it.
Yeah.
But to make it effective, you have to say it.
Where's the doubling come in though?
Because Moshe Rabbeinu told them that if you go into the land, if you go ahead and to as soldiers and conquer, then you'll get it. And if you don't, then you won't. So he had to double it. He said, if you won't, then if you don't, then you won't.
Oh, he doubled.
Moshe
They don't
Rabbeinu-
get double the portion.
No. So it's called the Tanai Kafel. But he says the positive and the negative.
Right. He gets to keep what he's supposed to get
A
in
couple,
condition
he doubled.
for
He gets
him.
2 desserts
No.
because he didn't violate the negative.
Kafel is in the condition. He says the positive and the negative of the conditions. Let's see it in the Mishnah. Reb Meir says, "Kol tanai shenika tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain." Any condition that isn't done according to that structure, the way it was done of the condition that was done for the tribe of Gad and Ruvain, in a tanai is not counted. Shenemar, as it says, "Vayomer aleim," he said to them, "Im yavru b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain," if the b'nei Gad and Ruvain will pass over the Jordan to go and fight. And it also says, "V'im lo yavru chalutzim," if they don't go and at the head, then okay. So he said both. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says no. It doesn't really need to be doubled. You see, what Reb Meir holds is that just because I told you that if you eat your green beans, you're going to get dessert. He says from that it does not imply that if you don't, then you won't. And we don't see that. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says yes, it is implied. It is implied. Michlal hein ata shemei alav. He says from the yes you can understand the no.
From the yes, you can understand the no.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that it needed to say it anyway. Shel Malikain, if it didn't say it, in other words, the second part of the condition, that if you don't go in, it needed to say that anyway. It's not telling me that you have to double every condition with the positive and a negative. I understood the negative even just from the positive without saying the negative. Why do you have to say the negative? In the negative, it said that if you don't go in, then you'll inherit the land on the other side of the Jordan. Like everyone else. We'll divide it up differently. If you don't go in to help, You just stay here, you'll still get a portion.
Oh, this is
But it's not the same portion,
Right.
or
No, they wanted to get a portion on one side of the Jordan. And if they don't go in, which is a little odd, if they don't go in to fight, then they'll actually get a different portion on the other side of the Jordan, not the portion that they wanted.
It doesn't say that.
It
It says
actually,
you don't get the eastern side.
you won't get the eastern
What
side,
you want.
but instead you'll get the western side. I would have thought if you don't go in to help, you won't get the eastern side or anything.
Yeah.
Kamash Malan, that if you don't go in, you won't get the eastern side, but you get the western side. According to Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel.
According to Rav Meir, what would that have to be?
That's a very good question.
Oh, what would that have made it be?
We're going to see in the Gemara.
Okay, because I'm not looking at it. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
I'll defer.
Yeah, the logic of this I don't get. Why should we think that they should get the portion on the western side of the Jordan when they don't even go into fight over there?
What about
Okay.
in the United States when they gave Sinai? No, in the United States, when they gave land in the West.
Right.
You didn't have to fight for it.
Right.
It was-
You just had to go and work there. Yeah. Right. Who was that gave it? It was
George Custer.
okay. Shaper Kamalei, Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says has a good comeback to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says that the reason why it says positive and the negative is because every condition needs to have a positive and a negative. Rabbi Chanina says no. The negative wasn't coming to tell me that every condition needs that. The negative, I knew the negative anyway. The negative was coming to tell me that they'll get a portion on the western side of the Jordan.
So it has specific reason.
It has a specific reason. In other words, in a normal condition, you don't have to say the negative. You just say, if you eat your string beans, your green beans, then you'll get the dessert. And that, it's understood automatically.
Yeah, if he
It's
doesn't
understood
say
if you
that
don't.
negative
Right.
about getting that
Huh?
extra portion, we
Still
would
can
think
get
that
them
they're
all.
not
If
getting
you don't do
anything
this,
like you said.
That's Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. Right. That's the Gemara's question. So what does Rabbi Meir say to that? Amalach Rabbi Meir respond like this. If it would enter your mind to say that it's not coming to tell me that you have to double every condition, that you have to say the positive and the negative, so then it would only have to say that if you didn't pass in, then you'll inherit amongst them, amongst you. I'll inherit amongst you. Be'eretz Canaan, Lamali. Why does it have to add in Be'eretz Canaan? We knew that they would inherit in Eretz Canaan. Shema Mina, that extra word is coming to teach me Tanai Kafalu Da'asa. It's coming to tell me that it's really a Tanai Kafal. So in other words, Rabbi Meir is saying that V'nechzu b'seichachem would already tell me everything that Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel wants it to tell me. And then Be'eretz Canaan, which is extra, teaches me that it needs to be a Tanai Kafal. For Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel, Amar, possibly that word is there. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel would say, Imlay Kasav Rachmana Be'eretz Canaan, if it didn't say Be'eretz Canaan, Hava Amina, then I would have thought, and as Rabbi Meir says, it doesn't need to say it. Chanina ben Gamliel says, but if it didn't say that, I would have thought, V'nechzu b'seichem Be'eretz Gilad. I would have thought that you would have inherited on the eastern side of the Jordan. I'm on top of 60 Samach Aleph Amud Beis. On top. Amud Beis means the right side of the page. So I would have said V'nechzu b'seichem Be'eretz Gilad. I would have thought that it was in the land of Gilad on the eastern side of the Jordan. Aval Be'eretz Canaan Klalai, but not in Eretz Canaan. You won't get it all. So in other words, I would have thought that you still would get a portion on the eastern side of the Jordan, but just not the portion that you wanted. It would have been somehow divided up differently. They wanted the whole area. I would have said that you get a portion somehow, okay. And it has to tell me Be'eretz Canaan that if you don't pass over to fight, then you're going to get in the land of Canaan afterwards. But you're not going to get anything on the eastern side. Now, Reb Meir says, B'seichachem kol echad yislechu mashma. B'seichachem would have meant wherever the Jewish people are, which means the land of Canaan. So I would have understood from B'Seichechem already that it's amongst you, amongst you all. Then I would have understood that it's the land of Canaan, which is the western side of the Jordan. Okay. Tanya, Amar Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. The Brisa says that Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says, let me tell you what this is comparable to. Someone is dividing his inheritance. Amar to his sons. He says, Amar, he says, Pliny b'ni year said the plainest. Someone told my son, you will inherit such and such a field. Pliny b'ni year said the plainest. My other son will inherit another field. Pliny b'ni, Eaton Masayim says, Vir said the Pliny. My other son, if he gives 200 zuz, then he'll inherit this third field. And if he doesn't give the money, then they'll just divide those other properties equally. Now, what does it mean? They'll divide the other. He'll inherit with the brothers. Does that mean all three, or does that mean they'll divide all three equally? Does that mean the two? Let me just see. Gemara says, "Mi garam la yidlira shemecha b'shar nechasim." What caused that he should inherit the other portions together with his brothers? Kfeila garam la. The fact that the father said that if he doesn't give, then he'll inherit with the other portions. He'll inherit together with his brothers from those two fields. So that's because he doubled his stipulation, because he went back and he said, and if he doesn't give the money, then he'll get together with the other brothers. Okay, so what Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel is saying is that we understood that he wouldn't have gotten his regular portion without doubling. I'm not sure. I guess the father, the estate, I don't know.
Lawyers. Lawyers are left.
Funny at all. No, it's sick.
I was gonna say.
It's funny because it's true.
So what would we have thought if he didn't say, and if not, if he doesn't give the money? He gave a condition. In order for him to get the third field, he gave a condition. If he didn't say that, if he didn't double it and say, and if you don't, what would we have thought? We would have thought that he would have anyways gotten the third field, but not the full, not the full amount. He would have gotten just a portion relative to the way what his brothers got. Now that he doubled it, but he won't get any part of the first two fields. No, he never would have gotten the first two fields. Now that he said that if you don't give the money, you're going to get part of the first two fields together with your brothers.
Is that in the
Let me see this.
On the surface, the windows. Apple. Puff.
Try to stay away from Microsoft.
So
Oh. But it's saying over here. Let me make sure we're up to the right place in the Gemara. This is number 4. Okay, this is the Gemara.
why ours was so good.
Let me read this. Even if they do not fight, Gad and Reuben are still eligible to receive 1/12 of Canaan.
Well, yeah, no.
In the end, then, Reb Chanina ben Gamliel understands Moses' stipulation as follows. Once Moses stated the positive half of a stipulation that Gad and Reuben would receive Gilad if they crossed the Jordan to fight for Canaan, it was understood that they would forfeit their exclusive claim to Gilad if they failed to cross the Jordan, since the negative half of the stipulation can be inferred from the positive half. It would also have been taught, however, that Gad and Reuben would be penalized further for not crossing and would receive no share in Eretz Yisrael whatsoever on either side of the Jordan. What does that mean? Not crossing, we receive no share in Eretz Yisrael whatsoever on either side of the Jordan. Moses therefore clarified this aspect in his stipulation by stating that if the tribes did not cross, they shall inherit in your midst in the land of Canaan. This conveyed that if the tribes do not cross, they will inherit in your midst 1/12 share of Gilad, and they will also receive 1/12 portion in the land of Canaan
Like
on
everybody
the
else.
other side of the Jordan. All right.
Clear.
But Reuben and Gad are on the east, don't have any portion in. Because the one.
That's because they fought. But if they got the
Oh, but
whole
if you're saying
deal.
if
If
they
they didn't
didn't,
fight, what would happen? They would get 1/12 of Eretz Canaan and also part of
Meaning-
Gilad.
I had
1/12 of
the
Gilad.
Meaning
Gilad.
what the Yidden would have had, everyone would have had a share in Eretz
Yeah.
Gilad.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
they would have divided that as well.
Oh.
Okay, now
Maybe Yerushalayim would
I
have
had the
had it.
impression it would just not be part of Am Yisrael.
That's fine.
let me see the next thing. In the analogy, the last son represents the tribes of Gad and Reuben. Okay, they have a condition. The first two sons represent the other tribes. If Gad and Reuben help their brethren fight the Canaanites, if they give 200 zuz, that's the corresponding, they'll receive the entire land of Gilad, the third field. If they do not help their brethren, if they do not give the 200 zuz, that's what it corresponds to, they will still receive a share in the land of Canaan, west of the Jordan, share in the first two fields, along with the rest of the tribes.
What is the
Okay.
land of east of the Jordan called?
The east of the Jordan is called Gilad.
So the question is, when you conquer a land, does it, such as since Jacob's name was Israel, this land you conquer become part of Canaan? Or Israel?
Yeah, they wanted that side, whether it's called Israel proper or not. And I'm going to scroll down the jump. I want to see the next thing. Now, if the father, let me read the next note. If the father had only stated the first half of his stipulation, the third field goes to the last son if he gives 200 zuz, then it would have been inferred that if the last son does not give the money, he would not have exclusive rights to this field. Rather, it would be divided equally among all the brothers, and this last son would receive 1/3 portion of it like everyone else. As for the first two fields, however, it would be assumed that the last son would receive no share whatsoever in them, for these had already been set aside for his other brothers. The above, however, holds true only if the father never declared the second part of his statement. Once he in fact articulated the second part, that if the last son does not give the 200 zuz, he will still inherit a share in the other possessions. The last son is guaranteed a share in these other possessions. He does not give the sum of money. It thus emerged that the second part of the father's statement does not merely reinforce the first idea, it adds an element to the stipulation that previously wasn't there. Rabbi Kiddushin ben Gamliel argues that the second half of Moses' stipulation functions in exactly the same way. It does not simply reinforce the first half of the statement that Gad and Reuven will forfeit their exclusive rights to Gilad if they don't fight. It adds another element to Moses' agreement with the tribes as well. It conveys that if Gad and Reuven failed to fight, they would still receive a standard share in the land of Canaan. I should have used the art scroll this morning. I don't have it. It's for free on the
birthday's coming
thing.
up though. Heard
That's an
that?
advertisement.
So what happens now? They tell him like this.
Usually use the
Ilay
Quran.
Kasar Rahman, usually I use this, but I have the Quran enough. But I use just the regular.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Old school.
Oh, but this is more than this. That has like other
Yeah.
portions too, right?
I don't use them often.
No.
No, just 1 second. Let me just see over here where we're holding. So mi garam loy lir shemecha b'shan nechasim kfeil garam loy. The Gemara asks v'alei damya mashal lemasnisin, but you can't compare the example to our Mishnah. Hasam Ktani. I'm holding this for a minute. Is that okay?
Yes.
Hasam Ktani over there it taught mi garam loy lir shemecha b'shan nechasim kfeil garam loy. The Mishnah it says, I'm sorry, Hasam means in this brisa that Rebbe Chanina ben Gamliel the mashal. Who causes him to inherit together with his other brothers? It's only when he went back and he said the negative. The father's restating the negative. That's what caused that he should now inherit together with the other brothers. Alma kfela l'shar nechasim hu dekamahani. I'm sorry, no, I skipped the whole line. But here it says migaram lir shemecha b'shar nechasim kfela garam lay alma kfela l'shar nechasim hu demahani. Second, what happened there? In the Mishnah it says. Afila beretz Canaan leyin chalo. Alma kfela leretz Gilad nami mahani.
So it's helping them get the kfila.
If
Just to get.
yesh b'mashma shafilu, the Mishnah said that we need to say the double. Shel Malikain, if you didn't double it, you won't inherit in the land of Canaan at all. Okay. And here in the Mashal, he's saying that if you don't give the 200 zuz, then you won't get
In the first part.
You won't get in the first part. Oh, you won't get. That's the thing. Over there, you won't get in the in over there. Rabbi Hanina ben Gamliel saying that if you don't go over to fight, you won't get Gilad and you won't get in land of Canaan.
Right.
But in the Mashal, he was going to get the one portion of the third field, although he wouldn't have gotten the other one. So it doesn't match perfectly. The Gemara answers like Kasha. Hamakami the name of Reb Meir ben Echsu, Alabasa the name of Reb Meir ben Echsu. You see, Reb Meir had a conversation with Rabbi Hanina, and at least at the beginning of our Gemara, and it said that we already knew. Reb Meir wasn't saying that the entire stipulation, the entire second part, was just teaching me the Tanai Kafel that you need to double it. He's saying, I agree with you that some of this second part is necessary because I would have thought differently. So before Reb Meir agrees to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, then he thinks that you're not getting anything. And after he agrees to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, then that's where the mashal comes in, where he knows he's going to get something. It's just that he has to finish it off to say where it's going to be. Okay. There.
It's also better than Shashkat, right?
So was there an agreement at the end, or is it still different?
They still differ. Yeah, there's a machlekes. Now the difference now is, the difference between them is if you only do half a stipulation, you only say if you do this. So we're not back to our Gemara in our Mishnah. He says, if I have a base core, then you're betrothed to me. And he doesn't say, and if I don't, then you're not. According to Reb Meir, then that's not a good stipulation. Then they'll be married. According to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, they're not married because he didn't finish off. Reb Chanina ben Gamliel says that we already understand from the first half of the stipulation, the second half. If you told me we'll be married only if you have a base core, then if you don't, automatically, then we're not. And Reb Meir says no. We'll be married if we have a base core, but we'll be married also without a base, if they don't have a base core. He didn't say that, and if not, not.
In modern law, you have to cover both sides.
In contracts, do you have to say both sides?
Yeah,
Really?
especially if it
Yeah.
allows more
Well,
couples.
a real estate contract explains everything.
Oh yeah.
Before, when they started with the
Same
contract,
four ways.
we're like up to 12 right now.
Uh-huh.
So let's just say-
Okay. Now the Gemara
When I
says,
conquered the land of Israel, is Gaza included?
what is the land of Gaza? I'm not sure. Is Gaza the land of the Plishtim?
Yeah, the first.
It's the south. Is Gaza? What is the land of the Plishtim? Where's Beersheba? That
South, that's desert. Negative.
it's a negative.
I've never seen Gaza, then
Yeah.
Let's see it again, baby.
Okay. Ishleim Reb Meir, the Gemara says, it works out well according to Reb Meir. That's what we had in this week's parsha. Imtativ says, if you're good, then you will be. What does says mean? You'll be able to endure. And if you're not good, lepesach chatas revitz. This is Hashem speaking to Cain, right? And if you're not good, then the sin crouches by the door. He said that means that Hashem told him both. Imtativ says, imloi seitiv. If yes, then this. If not, then no. That means that's exactly what Meir says you have to say. According to Rabbi Chanina, why do you have to double it? Well, the Gemara says Rabbi Chanina would respond, Salkadait Chamina, it would empty your mind to say, Imtativ, that if you do well, Agra, then you get a reward. Imlaitativ, if you don't do well, then Agra Valaydina, you don't get the reward, but you also don't get punished. Kamashman, it says no, you get punished as well. Yeah. You don't show up to work, so you don't get paid. And you also get fired.
No, you can get merits if you do something and you get demerits if you don't.
That's what,
Organization.
yeah, but that's
opposed to not
why you
getting
needed
the
this, the second part of the stipulation, because I would have thought that, no, that's where Chanina. Okay, in other words, I know that you don't get the reward by not doing good. That Rebbe Chanina agrees. Okay. That Rebbe Chanina
The
would,
Tanai here.
I'm sorry?
The Tanai is Hashem is making a Tanai. Like
Yeah. Yeah, we're at least we're learning it like it tonight. That if you do this, then this will happen. So Rabbi Hanina ben Gamliel, he says that if you do this, then you already know that if you don't do this, he knows that automatically. So why does he have to add in if you don't do this? It's coming to tell me that you also get punished. That we didn't know. We just knew that you don't get the reward. Okay. This is talking about the punishment is more than that. We understand Reb Meir because when Avram sends Eliezer to find a wife, he says that if she's willing to come back, if you go to the place of my relatives and you don't succeed, then you'll be free from this obligation that this oath that you just took. Avram made him take an oath. They're just going to go. But if you don't go, if you go, then you'll be freed. Why does it have to say that if you don't go? I guess it's not what the Gemara is quoting, but it's necessary to say if you don't go. He wanted to add in over there that if the girl wants to come back, but the family doesn't want the girl to come back, then you're going to take her against her will. Kamash Malan is coming to teach us that you don't take her against your will, you'll be free from the oath. Why does it have to say if she doesn't want to come? We're talking about Rivka here. It's necessary. I could have thought that maybe if the family wants her to marry Yitzchak, then good. But then if the family wants her to marry and she doesn't want to marry, then Naisibal Karcha, maybe Eliezer should take her against her will. Kamash Malan, that he doesn't take her against her will. Okay. I understand why it says if you walk in my statutes, and then it also says if you don't walk in my statutes, because Reb Meir always needs it to be doubled. According to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, why does it need to say and if you don't, it's necessary. Would have been mind to say but entered your mind. If you, I would have thought to say that if you walk in my statutes, then you get the blessing. So in Bechukai Timasu would have told me, I would have understood. Kamash Malan, it comes to tell me that you also get the curse. I would have thought you just don't get the blessing.
Okay, so I don't earn the merits, so no big deal.
Right.
Wasting your time.
merits.
Yes, it is.
It's all about the merits.
You get the efficiencies.
The same one.
Only
where
where
it says
conditions.
What do you mean?
Why?
Like,
That's why you don't claim.
Doesn't the Torah eat kosher?
no, like, if
not a
we have
Um,
248 positive,
Oh.
and then 365 negative.
Works.
Oh, are they all matching one another?
Yeah,
Not
no.
necessarily.
Yeah, they all don't match, but certainly, like, some of them do.
Right. 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 So certain mitzvahs you get a positive and a negative when you fulfill it. You right when you avoid it. Or now we go to Yeshaya, but the same thing. That if you listen to my words, then you'll get the blessings. And if you don't, then you'll get the sword. Why does it have to say the negative? It's necessary. Mashmalan, that you get the punishment as well. Yeah.
Sometimes the positive is not enough, so there's also the negative.
My Cherev Teichlo, one of my students was like a typical yeshiva bacher. He knew how to get out of the, it was like a professional student. He knew how to run the system. Anyway, he never came on Friday. He always got away with it. Anyway, he gets married, he gets a job, and he tells me, do you know that if I don't show up on Friday, they'll fire me? I said, why don't you tell me a chiddush? Of course they'll fire you. He says, no, you don't realize. In yeshiva, I never once came on Friday. Nothing ever happened to me. Because they stay up late Thursday night. So Friday's like a slow day, and then they go with time. Anyway, it was like a big chiddush to him.
He's blaming you the system.
Yeah. Okay, so my cherev toichelu. What does it mean that they'll be eaten by the sword? Amarava milcha galalnisa. That's a type of coarse salt. Nama desari, barley bread. Akusha ubatzli. What is akusha? Is it hard? What is it? How do you translate that? Stale. Okay. And ubatzli together with onions. Damarmar pas porni chareva b'melach b'tzolim kashim leguf kecharavis. That these foods, the master taught that these foods are as bad to the body like a sword. Okay. It works out well. According to Rabbi Chamnina, we're going the other way. If the man didn't lay with you, talking about to the Saita, and if you did not stray to be impure under your husband, then you'll be cleansed. And it doesn't say the other way. It should say that you'll be strangled if you did commit the crime. It says hinaki, which is also could be read as hinaki. According to Rab Meir, we understand, we like what Rab Tanchum is saying, that hinaki is a strange word, and it's coming to teach me hinaki. Why does it use that with that word? It says it's necessary. I could have entered your mind that I could have thought that if you don't, if she didn't commit the crime, then she's innocent, she's clean. And if she did commit the crime, then she's not clean, but she doesn't get strangled either. Elisur Balma was a sin, but okay, a sin. Kamash Malana comes to tell us that no, she dies as well. Okay. I'm sorry, it's supposed to be who probably. Mine is missing a who. I have an old print. The pasuk says that the sprinkling of the paraduma, the red heifer, has to be on the third day and on the seventh day to cleanse. And if it's not done that, then he doesn't get cleansed. Why does it have to say if he doesn't do that, he doesn't get cleansed? We would have understood automatically. It says it's could have thought.
You can do the next cycle.
Well, let's take a look. I could have thought that the mitzvah is on the third and the seventh. But if you did only on one, it's good enough. Kamash Malan, that it's not good enough. Why does it have to say that he will sprinkle on the tameh on the third day and on the seventh day? It's extra. It's necessary because I could have thought maybe that the third day is coming to say you can't do it on the second day. That's in the seventh day is excluding the sixth day. Why? The Kabbalah Meitara, because you're not having enough days of purification. But if you missed the seventh, but you did it on the eighth, the Kamafish Meitara, that you increase the days of purity. We could say that that's good. Kamash Malan comes to tell us, Kamash Malan comes to teach us here. What is it teaching when it says that he will cleanse on the seventh day? It's Itzrich. I could have thought that maybe for Kachim you need to have both, but for Truma you only need to sprinkle on one of them. So Kamash Malan, that even for Truma you have to sprinkle on both. Okay. This Mishnah we learned before once. We had it quoted on, what does it say, Daf Nun? 12 days ago. 2 weeks ago. Makadish Isha, if someone married a woman, and he says, I thought that her name was Cohen. I thought that she was a Kehenes. But Rehi Leviah, turns out she wasn't really a Kohen, she's really a Levi, a Leviah. Leviah, I thought she was a Leviah, her name was Sigal. And very Kehenes. Sigal is a name for Leviah. Yeah, Sagan Lekahuna. It's a Rosh Tevis. Sagan means secondary. So it turns out that she was really a Kohen. Ania, I thought she was poor. She drove an old pickup truck. Very Ashira, but she's really very wealthy. Ashira, Variania, she's really wealthy. She drove a fancy car. Variania, she's really poor. So Harizim Mekudeshes, they're still married. Because she didn't fool him. That was his own mistake. I never said anything.
That's when the person says it.
We'll go further. You'll see. I'm Elisha. If someone tells a woman, yeah, but then we had other when he said that he's a Kayan and not, then that was different. It was here. Yeah, back on Daf 9.
Like 12 days ago.
Oh, says.
Yeah.
You're so good.
7 years ago.
I don't know. I was maybe beginning of Ethan or something.
No.
Yeah. On page 50, we had some stuff about this.
12 days, right?
Yeah. Okay. Someone tells a woman, gives her a ring, it says, "You're married to me after I convert." He's going through the conversion process. He wasn't supposed to get involved before the conversion process. But he finds a woman and he says, after we convert, this is your ring from now. Already marries her before the conversion. Acher says, this guy before you convert. Don't tell the Bezdin. No, actually, that's not true. Make sure to tell the Bezdin. Wait, you'll see. Wait a second. Let's see. After I'm freed from a slave. After you're freed from a slave. He goes over to a married woman and says, you be betrothed to me after your husband dies.
I see you.
Or after your sister, he's married to the sister. Now, a man can marry his wife's sister after the wife dies. He can marry the sister. Kill it.
Oh, whoa, there's a family share.
So he says, after you're betrothed to me after your sister dies. Meanwhile, she's still alive. After you get chalitza from your brother-in-law. All of those, it's not considered a good condition. You're not able to do the Kiddushin right now, it doesn't work. Someone tells his friend, if your wife gives birth to a girl, then that girl should be betrothed to me. It's not married. Then it goes on, it says, this is supposed to be part of our Mishnah. But if the wife is already pregnant and it's already recognizable that she's pregnant, okay, so then it's effective. If it's a girl, then they're married.
Wow.
Despite the fact that she's married already.
No, we're talking about that this guy tells a pregnant woman, says that if you give birth to a so
where's she pregnant from?
It doesn't matter. He's marrying the fetus.
Oh boy.
Okay. I don't see this. I would see this more practical. 2 women are pregnant, and one is if my son is a boy and your son's a girl, then they're the mikudeshes. That would be.
That's like a shit.
That would be. Can the father make a marriage for the son?
Make a movie about it.
No, the father can make a marriage for the son, so it doesn't work anyway. Okay, it's
You're a movie producer.
Start over there.
I understand.
And where's over there in Shumas? Ein Tarmin Menatala Shalom Mechubar. You're not allowed to take truma. You see, truma is the gift to the Kohen. After you take in the grain, So you give 2% to the Kohen. So if some of the grain is attached to the ground and some of the grain is detached to the ground, some of it is already harvested, some of it is still on the stalks, then you're not allowed to take grain. You're not allowed to take grain from one that's attached on the detached to one from the detached on the attached. They have to be all the same status. Bimtaran ain't shumasai chuma. Okay. Boy minei Rabasi Rabbi Yechanan. Rabasi asks Rabbi Yechanan a question. Omar, let's say the person says, Peiros arugazu tlushim yu trumal peiros arugazu mechubarim. Or, which means fruits from this row, which are already separated, should be truma on the fruits of this row that are attached. Peiros arugazu mechubarim yu trumal peiros arugazu tlushim. The likish yitlashu benitlashu ma. Likish yitlashu. When they get detached. Benitlashu, when they did get attached somehow. So what's the din? Says that because you have the ability to actually separate them, so it's not considered mechusar ma'aser. Mechusar ma'aser means lacking an action. When it has to do with, like we said before, get freed. So, when I get freed, so I'll be. This should be. You should be betrothed to me when I'm freed. I'm a slave now when I'm freed. So it's not up to me to get freed. So that's considered mechusar ma'aser. You can't have, you're lacking a certain action, so it doesn't take effect. But over here, all he has to do is, he's the owner, he just has to take the fruits off. So it should be fine. Eisvei, the Gemara has a question. Someone tells a woman that you should be betrothed to me after I convert, after you convert. After I get free, after you get free, after the husband dies, after the sister dies, so after you do chalitza, all of those are eina mekudeshes. Well, bishlai makulu lav biyadei. All of those are not in the hands. Let's hope the death ones are not in the hands. Elager, but converting, have biyadei. He can convert whenever, if he wants to convert, so go convert. It's in his hand. Why do we say that it's not a good conversion? The Gemara says, "Ger nami lav biyadai." The conversion. Why do we say it's not a good marriage? Why do we say it's not a good marriage? The Gemara says, "Ger nami lav biyadai." Amar Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Chia bar Abba was a famous student of Rabbi Yechanan. He says, because it's not up to him to do the conversion. Ger tzarich shleisha. The ger requires a bezdin, and it's the bezdin that does the conversion. Yeah, unbelievable taste for here. Right. We're asking that if he gives the ring before he converts, and he says, no, 1 second. And he tells a Jewish girl, he says that after I convert, this ring should be our Kiddushin. And he gave it beforehand. So, and then he goes ahead and he converts. So do we say that when he gave the ring, he was lacking an action, he wasn't able to perform, and therefore the Kiddushin is nothing? Or do we say that, look, he could go to the Beis Din and convert, and it's up to him. It's a regular stipulation.
A non-Jewish person can turn to a contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because he made a
guided by Jewish law. Doesn't give her a ring to get married. The whole giving her a ring is a Jewish thing.
No.
You learned the first Mishnah. You have to a wife one of 3 ways. That's a Jewish law.
This is not a convert together with a Jew.
Yeah, but the guy at the time he makes it. He says, "I'm going to eat Pesach, not Pesach." So who cares? Why do you want to eat? That's not good.
When he's already in the middle of the process, would that be different?
I'm sorry?
When you're in the middle of the process and you make a conviction, no, I want to become Jewish.
It's the same thing. Same thing.
I know.
I guess the question I'm asking is anything a guy says is binding. Why is it binding?
Jews have businesses with non-Jews all the time. They
American
go in
law,
partnership.
not Torah law. Torah can't control what a non-Jewish person does.
No, but let's say we're talking about that he lives in the land of Israel, and
Okay.
now, but also you're talking about the monetary laws. This is also we're talking about the ritual law.
Any commitment a non-Jewish person makes, he has to stick to that commitment.
Yeah.
What do we have? We have no control over that.
Okay, okay. You're asking control-wise. You're asking control-wise. But the question that you're asking, how do we enforce it? If they okay, but forget about how do we enforce it. What about the reality? Without this,
Is it binding?
is it
If a
binding?
non-Jewish
Yeah.
person makes a Jewish claim, is it binding?
If a non-Jewish person makes a sale with a Jew, it's binding. Regular sale, transaction, it's binding.
I know someone.
Yeah.
They could buy land in Jerusalem. They could get taken back, no?
But wait a second, but those buying land, for example, is not a Jewish transaction. It's not
Right,
buying land in Israel would be like buying land in Syria.
Right. right,
That's not guided. That's not based on Jewish law.
right.
Based on Jewish law, they could.
If a non-Jewish guy owns a piece of land in Israel, so they give true.
We're saying that because he could become Jewish, so it should be considered that it's up to him if he wants to be Jewish, and so therefore the marriage should take place already now because it's up to him. So the Gemara says no, it's not up to him because the Bezdin needs to do it, so it's not in his control. Okay. Anyway, Taisva says over here that you only need a Bezdin for Kabbalah Mitzvahs, but for the mikveh itself, it could be that only one person needs to be there. Yes, a proof for that. However, it's not so simple. Okay. My timer, what's the reason why you need to have a Bezdin? It says Mishpat Ksivbe. It says judgment. Kedin. Just like a regular law. It says Mishpat Echad Yelachem Kager Ke'ezrach. Mi Yemar de Mizdakulo Hanit Lasa. How do you know that these three are going to accept this person as a convert? And therefore, it's not up to him. Maskefla Rababa Bar Mamal. Rababa Bar Mamal has a question. If that's the case, if someone tells his maidservant, he gives her a coin and he says, after I free you, this should be a Kiddushin because it's up to him to free her. He doesn't need a Bezdin. And he gives her a coin. He says, I'm going to marry you after I free you. Then he goes in and frees her. So that coin that he gave before should be effective. This is totally not politically correct. Over there, she's considered an animal. And before, she was like an animal, which means a slave has no like lineage type of thing. So now she's a new person. One second. Rabbi Shia says that if someone tells his wife that this is a ring or a pruta, this is a coin, after I divorce you, we should get remarried and this should work. So Hachinami, the Rabbi Yochanan, according to what Rabbi Yochanan said, that if it's up to him, right, he's going to divorce her, he's going to marry her. It's all in his hands. So it should work. David Kiddushin. The Gemara says, Nehi de biyade lagarsha lekatsha. Oh, Nehi de biyade lagarsha biyade lekatsha. It's probably supposed to be a question. Yeah, Rashi says a question. I understand that he can divorce her, but does he have the full rights to marry her? It's up to her. It's not up to her. Right? She could say that you were good for a first husband, but not for a second husband.
That's a good joke.
Okay. Tiftit by Rabbi Shia. This can answer something that Rabbi Shia asked. It says, "Hanaisin shtei prutis liisha." If someone gives his wife, not his wife yet, someone gives a woman 2 coins. One of them he says, "You betrothed me today." One of them he says to her, this you should be betrothed to me after I divorce you. So this is like an insurance type of thing. So Tifshim mean if he had a question, is this considered a good marriage? Does Tifshim mean delay have a Kiddushin? We should say that it doesn't work because it's up to her if she wants to do it afterwards. It says, "Well, Dilma the tapsi Kiddushin hashta tapsi nami lachakin." You see, here it's different. Over here, right now, he's able to marry her. So when he gives her both of these coins, he has the ability to do the marriage on her right now. Over there, he was marrying her while he's already married. So over there, it's not the only way that the marriage can take effect is if he divorces her. So right now it wasn't eligible. It's only after the divorce it will be eligible. So we say if it's up to her, then it will. But now you're trying to tell me that since it's not up to her, it shouldn't work. But 1 second, right now she's agreeing to it, and it is possible, so it doesn't answer it. Okay. Tanika v'seder Rabbi Yochanan. You have a proof for Rabbi Yochanan. It says, "Ein tarmin minatalash ala mechuber." You're not supposed to take truma from grain that's separated from the ground on over for grain that's still attached to the ground. V'im taram, and if you did do that, ein truma doesn't count. Kate said, "How does this work?" Amar peres erugusu tlushin yitruma peres erugusu mechuberes. That the fruits from this row that are separated should be truma on the fruits of this row that are still attached. So the fruits from this row that are attached should be truma on this row for this row that's separated. It doesn't count. But if he says that it should be truma after it is separated, and it is separated, then varav kayamin. And because he's able to do that. Yes, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says more than this. After they grow a third, and I remove it. In others, they haven't even grown enough. And then they grew a third, and then he separated. It still works. Well, Rava says, he only said this, that by this type of grain, this type of stalks, that wasn't meant to be, let me see how it is in your Gemara. Shachas is usually fodder.
Right, because you can cut it for the animal.
Hey, say to this law only, whoops, I'm going the wrong way, right? With reference to crops that are developed to serve as fodder. Ba'agam, but with crops that are in their earlier stage of, agam means an earlier stage. Agam, I thought meant the meadow. Agam means that it's, that's 19. They've just grown enough to sway or bend over somewhat. Pressure applied to them.
Very early.
They're very, very early stage. At a much earlier stage, then Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov wouldn't say that it works like that. Rabbi Yosef says that Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would say the same thing. This is machlekes Rabbah and Rabbi Yosef. What would be the opinion of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov at an early stage? My mashma dehaya agam lishna de butzlanahu, which means that
Can't that sways easily in the wind?
butzlana means sways. No.
Let
me see it again.
Yeah.
Oh, the Gemara is asking, what's the term agam? It says, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov said, well, it says, how do you know, my mashram the agam listen to butzlana? How do you know that it's the early stage of growth? Rabbi Elazar says, Amar Kra, it says, halachayt ka'agmain reishai. It is to bow his head like a bulrush. Sways easily in the wind. Okay. Just 1 second. Let me see if we should go further. Okay, let's leave it right here. Okay.